Yo guys, what's up? This is the Nitro Rad Q&A. I got you guys all to send in some video questions and now I'm going to answer them, so let's go.
When it comes to content creation, who are your biggest inspirations?
Were you inspired by any other YouTubers?
Who are your top 3 people that have inspired you to start YouTube?
What inspired you to start making YouTube videos?
YouTubers you look up to or might have been inspired by.
Who do you watch that gets you pumped up to make some new content?
What was your inspiration for starting a YouTube channel?
So the first question I got from a lot of people was a lot about inspiration. So first I'll talk about what inspired me to start the channel in the first place. So the obvious answer a lot of people I find often give is Angry Video Game Nerd. He was one of the earliest, probably the first channel I ever watched that reviewed video games. I found him back when he was part of ScrewAttack.com forever ago, and I used to watch their reviews and stuff. I don't know if they really did reviews, but video game content nonetheless. But the first guy I watched that actually made me want to do a YouTube channel myself was actually Peanut Butter Gamer. Because I remember a lot of other people were doing characters, like Spoonie had characters and James Rolfe had characters, but PBG was the first guy I watched where it was just him being himself, talking about things that only he thought was really cool and no one else would really look at. Like he was talking about Easter eggs and Wii Ski, like who the hell cares about that? But he cared about it and he was able to make it interesting. So that's what made me want to do it in the first place, was seeing him do that. And I guess for people that currently inspire me, that I currently look up to, some call me Johnny is definitely one of the biggest ones. I just love how honest his reviews are, how humble, and how down-to-earth that guy is. And he's got such a wide catalog of documentations of all these different games, and that's what I really want to do. I just want to have a channel you can look through and find tons of stuff that no one else is talking about and just click on it and learn all about it, and that's what his channel has kind of become over the years, and that's what I strive to do with my own as well. When I first started, I kind of constructed my videos, I fashioned them very much after his reviews until I kind of found my own style or way or whatever. I find his way is just so personal that it's really easy to kind of bounce off of the way he does things. Secondly, Super Bunny Hop is a really big one for me. He is so well-researched, well-spoken. He has such a really good vocabulary. He has such a way with words that paints this picture in your head of what he's trying to describe. I remember one time he was criticizing some horror game, and he was talking about how the bad animations would kind of pull you out of it. I forget what game it was, but he described it as seeing the zippers on the back of the costumes, and I just thought that was absolutely brilliant. If I had to pick a third one, it would probably be H-Bomber Guy. He is so all over the place with his topics, whether he's talking about politics or video games or Control-Alt-Delete, the comic, or Scanline is my favorite video of his, all about VHS stuff. So well researched, and he raises a lot of points that are just really interesting that you wouldn't really see from a lot of people. Just going really in-depth, but most importantly, he's not afraid to get weird. He does some weird things in his videos that I just love seeing. I just love seeing people not afraid to betray people, not betray, but go past people's comfort zones when it comes to just making stuff, and yeah, I just think that's super cool.
What is your favorite genre of film?
Definitely crime thrillers. There is something about classic cops and robbers that I just cannot get enough of. Like, whether it follows the detectives or police or it's following the criminals, I just love that kind of, like, dirty, gritty, grimy stuff that's going on, and they're trying to either do it or they're trying to stop it. Really good examples like Reservoir Dogs, The Untouchables, and or Usual Suspects. Definitely my favorite genre.
James, if you could have one sequel to any video game series at all, what would it be?
Well, since you said series and not individual game, I'm assuming you mean games that have already had sequels and just haven't had one for a while. Definitely Silent Hill. I would kill to see another good Silent Hill game, and I don't know if we ever will, so that for sure.
What is your favorite genre besides platforming, and why?
Survival horror. There's something about just slowly whittling your way through each corridor and rationing your supplies, and a big part of it is exploration. I love exploration and just smashing through every locker, opening every crate, just digging everywhere, trying to find every last bit of supplies you can use to scrape by. Can't get enough of it.
How can you keep your work constant without being burnt out or getting tired?
You may get a ton of reviews, so I'm wondering, do you ever get like burnt out from them or what?
I don't think I ever really feel burnt out. Usually after I upload a video, that day and the day after, those are my 2 days off. Like that's my weekend, I guess. So I take a break after I upload a video, I do some stuff that I want to do, hang out with friends or just play whatever. But yeah, other than that, I'm doing something I like doing, so I never really feel that way, I guess.
I'd like to know if you ever thought of picking up RPG Maker to create your own adventure game with like your ideas and thoughts.
Yeah, I've definitely considered trying to make an RPG Maker game. I've never really given it much effort before. But I mean, obviously, if I were to seriously get into that, that's something that would take away a lot of time from me working on Nitro Rad, which is what I want to do. I'm not a game developer, I'm a filmmaker, and I think doing video game reviews is technically filmmaking. I'm documenting stuff, kind of, and that's what I'm more so good at, so... But yeah, maybe sometime I'd love to make a Yumeniki game based on my own dreams. I don't know if I will ever do that or ever be able to figure out how to do that, but it's something I would like to do.
Are there any type of films that you want to make in the future, in any genre, or do you have a specific idea?
Do you have the chance to make any film with no budget restrictions?
Feature film would you make if you had the chance to? And why?
I would like to make either a horror movie or a crime thriller movie, mostly because, like I said, crime thriller is just my favorite genre, so that's a pretty obvious one, but other than that, like, I watch a lot of horror movies, and I have a hard time getting scared by horror movies. I find video games just do it in a way for me that movies can't, and I would like to maybe be one of the few people that tries to find out a neat and clever way of making a movie actually scary without relying on jump scares or something like that.
Aside from the obvious filmmaking video games,
what kind of hobbies do you dabble in?
When I was younger, I used to be in scouts. I used to go camping a lot. I did a lot of hiking, and that's something I enjoyed quite a bit. I haven't gone camping in like a number of years now, just because it's like when you're an adult and all of your friends have full-time jobs, it's just impossible to organize stuff like that now. But yeah, camping was something I really did enjoy, especially during the winter, like up in Canada. I'm talking like negative 15-degree weather. It was awesome how we were taught how to properly dress for that. It's less about like just wearing bulky winter coats and more so about dressing in layers and having the proper equipment, the right kind of socks, the right thermal underwear, which I still have, and I've always been someone that, thanks to scouts, I've been well prepared for stuff like that, and I used to love doing it. So yeah, camping and hiking, I guess.
What do you think makes a good 3D platformer?
Personally, I think an integral part of making a good platformer game is the moveset. That is where the core mechanics are going to lie, and, you know, the purpose of a platformer is to get your character somewhere, or to get your character to achieve a certain thing, and doing that thing is not going to be interesting unless they have a moveset to make it interesting. For example, Mario, the crown jewel of all examples, you know, he's got the wall kick, he's got the dive, he's got the long jump. Mario's got a billion types of jumps, and that's why those games are so interesting and fun to do, because you can approach things in so many different ways. Moveset, for sure.
Is there any advice you can give for those who are starting out on YouTube?
What tip or advice would you give a new YouTuber who just started his own channel?
What do you recommend to people that have a small channel that are trying to grow it?
Do you have any tips for growing my channel at all?
What advice do you have for someone who
just started off making videos for YouTube?
Alright, so here's one I got a lot, and it's not something I think I really have a concrete answer to, because, like, I don't think my videos from the get-go were never something I really formulated or really understood what I was doing, and I felt like I just kind of got lucky and built an audience that way. But I have a couple of things I think I recognize in my own journey to 100,000 subscribers that maybe I could share. Firstly, one of you guys asked about motivation. You just gotta be passionate about it. You can't just be making videos for the sake of making videos. You need to want to achieve something, and personally, I wanted to document, as a documentary filmmaker, I wanted to document and review tons of games that people have not really either looked into or have given a thorough look. Maybe games that people have kind of just joked about and their content is not really being thorough into the game and is not really showing the whole game. For example, Rascal is one of those games and Bubsy 3D is one of those games. I think I was like the first person to make a produced video that wasn't just like uncut gameplay, to actually show the ending of the game and the entirety of it. That is what I wanted to do from the get-go. So you need to have a purpose, you need to want to do that, you need to have some sort of goal in mind. So I guess that's definitely where my motivation comes from. And as for growing, the way I did it, the way I kind of got my first 10K was I used to be a big user on the Screw Attack community. They're now owned by Rooster Teeth, and they don't have much of a user submission community, I don't think, anymore. I don't think you can submit user videos, but what they used to do And I used to do this long even before I started Nitro Rad. I had some videos like a frog from Chrono Trigger playing instruments. I did that on screwattack.com. But they would take fan-made content and put it on the front page if they liked it. And they did that so much, and that is where I got my initial exposure for Nitro Rad. Every Nitro Rad episode I would upload to Screwattack, or you would embed it with like the YouTube link, but you would make a page for it on Screwattack, and they front paged like a lot of Nitro Rad episodes, and that's where I got my initial traffic from. So I would say you definitely need some sort of social network to really get it out there. I guess Screwattack's not really a thing anymore. I'm not too familiar with how Rooster Teeth has changed that. I haven't really been on that website in a couple of years. Maybe that's still a thing, maybe it's not, but Amino apps is something. I don't know anything about it. I hear that's kind of like the social app thing that's kind of all the rage now, so maybe find an amino community and kind of post your content there maybe, but not in a way where you're just shamelessly self-promoting, because like one thing I've never done is I've never like told, or I've never asked somebody to watch my video. You need to put out something that people will genuinely find interesting and will click on themselves. I find telling people like, hey, can you watch this? I think that may feel a bit pompous if you kind of post it up on a network being like, hey, I did this thing, heard you guys talking about that, so you guys inspired me to make something, and then seeing as they might see you as, oh, a guy in this community who did something, maybe then they'll click on it. And then growing from there, I'd say the first 10K is the biggest important thing. That's when your videos are going to be starting to get recommended a little bit, I think. I kind of had two big spikes I found. One, my first big spike was that Jimmy Wetzel video I did responding to his criticisms of Yokai Watch. I kind of tapped into an angry fan base that was there. There was a niche there, and I kind of came in and filled that void, and a lot of people came to my channel, even though my channel wasn't even really about that kind of thing. People just kind of was like, oh my god, thank you so much for defending this thing I like. No one else is doing it. So I'm not saying look for something like that. That might seem a little ingenuine, but that's one thing I've noticed about my channel. One of the big spikes in subscribers I got. The second one was from the Mario Marathon I did. After I established myself as someone that reviews platformer games, after doing it for a couple of years, I think it was around 40K, then I did all of the Mario games, and I went from 40 to 90K subscribers. Yeah, so I guess make a name for yourself, get a little bit of a leeway there, and then just do a big popular series, and then people will be more than happy to hear you talk about something that they love and they're familiar with. So yeah, I don't know if any of that is really advice you can follow and is going to be a surefire way to do it, but that's kind of what I've noticed from my own journey there, so I guess that helped. I hope that helps.
How do you usually get yourself ready to start recording a video? Like, what do you usually do to, like, pump yourself up?
I don't really do anything. I just get up, I shower, I eat, and then after that, it's the first thing I do. I set up the gear, and then I just go. It's not much of a process, I just do it.
Since you mainly do reviews of RPG Maker, platform, and horror games, if you ever considered branching out
into other types of game on your channel, like horror games and more obscure games like Mr. Driller 2.
And this is something I actually get quite a lot. A lot of people ask me, why do I stick to very few genres instead of branching out to other games? Well, to answer your questions, yes, there are going to be times when I will branch out and do a couple of odd games that aren't platformers or RPG Maker games. I've done that before in the past too, and there's games I plan on doing, like I want to do the entire Pikmin series. That's not a platformer or an RPG Maker game or a horror game, and it's something I really want to do, but it's because that series is very close to me, and that is what I made my whole channel. That's how I got the direction for it in the first place, is because I wanted to do games that were very close to me. I started with Yume Nikki, I started with Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, and from there on I just kept doing RPG Maker games. I just kept doing platformers, because after that I was like, Gex, that's another series I grew up with, Rayman, another series I grew up with, and then I was like, oh, I just want to keep doing platformers. So that genre kind of became close to me. Those genres became close to me, so I guess it's less so something like, you know, I'm just gonna stick to these forever. No, I'm sticking to them because it's something I'm familiar with, something I understand very well, and something that that is close to me. And if I do branch out, it will be every now and then, and it'll be, again, just a game that's simply close to me as well.
How you deal with procrastination, and how you motivate yourself to finish your work.
I've never really had much problem with procrastination. I just kind of do things, and I get them done on a timely manner. I kind of give myself time limits, I'd say. Like, I'm like, okay, let's see if I can get this video done by Wednesday, and then I just work at it, and I'm like, oh, maybe I won't. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I can get this done a day early, and if I get it done ahead of my own schedule, then it just feels really good. So I guess that kind of good feeling I get from getting things done sooner than I expected is kind of part of that motivation, and I guess that's kind of part of what helps me not procrastinate, I guess. I don't know. It's never really been a problem for me, but maybe that's why.
What's your favorite soundtrack?
What is your favorite video game soundtrack?
Every time I get a question like this, I really don't know what to answer because there's like so many video game soundtracks and there's a lot of like amazing ones. But lately, whenever I'm doing like VFX or I'm editing something that doesn't require listening, like I'm not doing narration, I'll usually listen to the Sonic Forces soundtrack. That's my go-to one in like this past year. I like a lot of the Sonic soundtracks. They're all really good, especially the Sonic Unleashed soundtrack. That's really good. Chrono Trigger's got an amazing soundtrack. I love the synth of like the Deus Ex games like Mankind Divided and Human Revolution. What else? Yeah, I don't know. GoldenEye Rogue Agent. I actually really like the multiplayer songs. I know that's a really dumb game, but like look up GoldenEye Rogue Agent multiplayer. It's just really intense and like get you ready to go do something stupid. But other than video games, my favorite movie soundtrack is the Whiplash soundtrack. Absolutely amazing, those songs in that movie.
Yo, what's going on, mate? Quick question, what kind of music are you into?
So still on the topic of music, yeah, I'm not a big music guy. I don't keep up with, like, music that comes out. Like, I could not tell you one song by one band or artist that came out in the past year. Despacito, I guess, did that come out this year? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm totally ignorant to that whole medium of stuff. But I do like indie rock. Like Garbage is one of my favorites. The Killers has been one of my favorites. I used to really be into dad rock in like middle school, but I feel like I kind of outgrown that as I got more into like electronic music. Pretty much anything that's not like trap or dubstep. Like I really like house music. Eurobeat's kind of a guilty pleasure. I don't know. Like I said, the Sonic Forces soundtrack. Most of the songs in that, when it comes to electronic music, that's kind of my taste in electronic music. Is the Sonic Forces soundtrack. That soundtrack would hit all the nails in the head for me in regards to that. And jazz. I love jazz. Like Cuphead soundtrack's a great example. And again, Whiplash. A lot of drumming and brass. Really love jazz. Like the not like smooth, relaxing jazz. I'm talking like intense. We're getting stuff done. Jazz. That's more my speed.
Have you ever owned a pet, or do you currently own?
Do you have any pets?
Yes, I have a dog. He's a little small dog.
How do you meet Alex?
So my friend Alex, he's a year older than I am, so I was in 10th grade and he was in 11th grade, and I was in a grade 11 Business Information Technology class, which was essentially just a typing class in the end. I know, fancy name, but we were just doing typing assignments, and I already knew how to type really well at that point, so I just flew through all the assignments, and then I would just play Mega Man on an emulator for the rest of class. And Alex was also in that class because he was in 11th grade, and he noticed I had a Mega Man 10 background, and he looked over. He's like, oh, you like Mega Man? I'm like, yeah. And he points at Blade Man. He's like, you should beat this guy first because he's got the best weapon. And he showed me like the boss order, which I didn't know yet. And I was like, oh, thanks, man. And then a couple days later, I was hanging out at my friend Robbie's house, and it turned out that Robbie was friends with Alex, and Alex was just there. And we hung out. I'm like, oh, you're the dude from you're the Mega Man guy. He's like, yeah. And then that first day we hung out, we made Peanuts and Coffee, which is this really bad sketch comedy video series. It's still on YouTube on a channel called Peanuts and Coffee. That was the first thing we did together when we hung out, and it was a blast.
What is your favorite moment from the Mother series?
The very end of Mother 3, when you're doing the final boss fight, and that last line of dialogue you get when you do like the final thing happens. It says blank has taken mortal damage. People who've played the game know what I'm talking about. That destroyed me, and I have never had such like a memory, I don't think in any game, like it stitched into my brain as like strongly as that one. So definitely that.
How did everyone take the news that you said you could start doing YouTube for a career now? Did they take it well? Did they not take it well?
I don't think anyone was like upset that I started doing YouTube full time. I had a couple of people call me stupid for quitting my job after I launched the Patreon. It was like, dude, they pay you nothing for doing retail. I was working a minimum wage job. I'm probably making more money on YouTube now than I was working retail anyway. at least a little bit more with the Patreon helping. There were some people that were a little pissy about me putting out a Patreon, and I think some people have had experiences noticing YouTubers getting lazier as they have Patreon because they can rely on that sorts of income instead of YouTube. But I think this past year I've been pretty productive. I've been putting out way more videos than usual. I usually used to do like 2 videos a month. Now I'm doing between like 3 and 5 videos a month. I'm trying to get as much content out as I can on like a timely basis. So yeah, no complaints from people so far. People just kind of, I get a lot of comments of people like praising my schedule, praising my production value despite my schedule. So yeah, things have been pretty good so far, I guess.
Are there any old videos on your channel that you're just really unhappy with now?
I'm not super big on my old Silent Hill videos, like the first 4 I put out. I think there's a lot of things I say in those videos that I don't necessarily agree with anymore. You know, as you get older, as you expose yourself to more games, and as you play things more and more, you kind of develop a new perspective on it. I still get a lot of angry comments on those videos calling me really ignorant for the way I talked about them. I don't agree with that entirely, but there's some things I'd say in those videos that I definitely wouldn't now. So I guess those ones, I guess.
Have you ever been noticed in public before?
Why are you naked? You got like a towel on. A couple of times, you know. One time, I've only been recognized in public once in Canada, which is where I live. It was not even in the province I live in. It was in a neighboring province. I was in New Brunswick, and I was in a mall, and some guy was like, "Hey, come here," and I was like, "No," and he was like, "No, come here. My friend wants to talk to you." I'm like, I didn't know who this guy was, and it was creeping me out, and I went up. He's like, "Hey, do you have a YouTube channel?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's me." That's only happened once in Canada. The only other time I've been recognized in public was when I was at an anime convention. I was at Anime Next in New Jersey when I was visiting some friends. And, you know, most of my demographic is in the States, so I'm definitely going to be more likely to be recognized there, especially at a gathering of people who like that sort of thing. So I was recognized like 20 times over the weekend at Anime Next, which was crazy. And I think that was a really good experience for me because, like, I probably don't seem like this because I'm naturally well-spoken, and not to brag or anything. I come off as very, like, I don't know, calm, cool, and collective just because of my voice, but I actually have like crippling social anxiety. Like the first 2 times people approached me at Anime Next and they asked if I was Nitro Rad, I was so scared I said no. And like over the course of the weekend, I got more used to it because so many people were approaching me. Brady being there with me definitely helped with that, and like it just became something I quickly got really comfortable with, and I think that was like a good thing for me trying to overcome that anxiety. And it was an event, and like it started like me being like, I'm terrified of this and this is weird, and by the end of the weekend it was like, this is amazing and I love people coming up to me, and it was awesome. So yeah.
Favorite Metal Gear Solid 3 boss and why?
Probably the end. I know that's like kind of a longer boss fight to do, but it is just so much fun using the directional microphone, trying to hear his breathing, looking for his footsteps. I like how you can kill his parrot and you can eat it and he gets really mad at you. You can do that fight just as a sniper fight if you want, which is really difficult doing it that way even still, or you can track him down and like there's so many different things you can do in that boss fight. You can hold him at gunpoint and shake him down and like get him to give you an item. It's crazy what you can do in that fight. So and then of course the classic thing where you wait a week and he dies of old age. There's just so much in that fight, so much more than any of the other boss fights as far as I know. So yeah, that one for sure.
I was in your last Q&A video and I'm gonna ask the same question I asked then, which was what was your favorite video you've ever made, because your opinion might have changed since then.
Yeah, that is a good idea to ask the same thing, you know, all this time later, because, you know, as I do more things change. The Luigi's Mansion video is one of my favorite ones even still. I just love how I kind of digested that game in a way I've always wanted to. And my background in film definitely helped with that, learning about the difference between diegetic and non-diegetic sound. Looking at that game as like a character study is something I've always wanted to do because that game says so much about Luigi, and focusing on a lot on that instead of just the game itself. Like, that's not even one of my favorite games, but it's just a game that I can never stop thinking about even still. It's a really weird game to me, and I loved being able to share that. I don't know if that was my answer last time. Bubsy 3D is an obvious example. I really like how I'm the one who showed the whole game. I really like the Mario Sunshine video. I feel like I kind of got across a lot of points that I don't see a lot of other people talk about that game, and I kind of addressed some common complaints about it that I felt strongly about in the opposite way. You know, when people criticize the game for lack of theming, saying it's all just one beach level, it's like, well, no, there's a harbor level, there's a haunted mansion level, there's, well, haunted hotel level, it's all on a beach, but there's more to it than, you know what I mean? And I feel like I was able to look at that in a way that I really wanted to get off my chest and out into the internet, and yeah. So I guess Mario Sunshine for now, I'll say.
So why does your intro feel so vintage?
Yeah, I know I mostly review games that have come out between like the N64 and GameCube, like those two eras, because that time frame is when I was a kid mostly, and I was growing up playing mostly those kinds of games. I didn't play NES as much, but I did want my intro to kind of reflect my origins as someone that plays video games, and the NES was the first console I ever played. And Star Tropics, which is what my entire channel is themed after, that was the first favorite game of mine I ever had. That was the first time I played a game where I'm like, this game is amazing, and my whole life is about this game right now. So yeah, I kind of wanted it to reflect that, I guess. It's kind of like you're coming through my own view, my own visor, my first experience, I guess, all the way to now, maybe? I don't know. Maybe I'm just BSing right now, but that's kind of how I feel about it, I guess.
What conventions do you go to, if you do go to any in Canada, per se?
I used to go to Animaritime in New Brunswick and HalCon in Nova Scotia every year, but I mean, I've gone to those conventions like every year for like the past 5 or 6 years, and it kind of gets stale going to the exact same convention over and over and over, so that's why I'm trying to go to new conventions from now on. I went to Anime Next, my first American convention. That was super duper fun. I want to go to Con Bravo next year in Toronto, so expect to see me there.
Least favorite main character in a horror game?
What was his name? Like Alex Shepard from Silent Hill Homecoming? I thought he was just dumb and annoying.
After we record this, more Super Smash Bros. Ultimate information will be unveiled. What are your thoughts on the current information being presented to you, such as the music, the characters, and the stages? What more do you want from the game?
Yeah, a lot of the stuff they showed off so far looks really cool. Like the new game modes and stuff that's like completely new and unique to Smash Ultimate looks super fun to play with. Really looks like they're listening to fans this time. Like K. Rool is an awesome addition. I think Dark Samus I'm super pumped for because I love the Metroid Prime games. And Simon Belmont was a really good pick too as like a legacy NES character. I think that was a wise choice. The whole Echo Fighter thing looks really cool, but I'm not going to get too far into it. If you really want to hear all my thoughts on it, I did a Smash discussion video with Relax and She Says over on the Boundary Break channel. Yeah, if you want to hear more, check that out.
When you make your feature-length film, can I have a cameo in it?
I don't even know who you are, but okay.
What do you see yourself and your channel doing in the next 3 years?
Probably the same exact thing I'm doing right now, but maybe more people are watching it. The only thing I can imagine that I'd be doing different is like, I kinda want to take a stab at a more longer documentary piece that covers a series, kind of like Retro Ahoy style, and the first series I want to do that with is the WarioWare series. But I mean, it'd be a while before that, because I need a Nintendo 64 DD to do it. I don't know if I'll ever want that, but it's something I might consider doing. But yeah, other than that, same stuff, I guess.
What obscure game do you have the most nostalgia for?
LSD Dream Emulator. I used to play the crap out of it in high school. My friends Robbie, Alex, and I, we got it on the Japanese PlayStation Network, and we would just play it, and the next day at school we would just talk about what we all saw. And we'd be like, yeah, I never got this to happen. Have you ever gone to the docks and saw the guy with the gun? Yeah, I got shot by him. Yo, that happened to me too. Oh, I've never seen that. Just that, all the discussion that game created between my friends and I. Yeah, I love thinking back to that, back in high school.
Who's your favorite My Hero Academia character, and what do you think of My Hero Academia's One's Justice, the video game?
Tokoyami. He's a badass crow man with shadow powers. I think that's super badass. The game looks okay. I'm sure it won't be much better than, like, you know, it's same old anime fighter like the Naruto games, which I hear like they're fine, so I'm sure it'll be fine, won't be amazing, but I kind of like to get it because it looks like you can do some fun customization stuff. You can dress up the characters, and I'm a sucker for that, so I don't know. I'm not into fighters though, but I might give it a shot just for that, just because I like the series a lot.
One Punch Man or Mob Psycho 100? Which one do you prefer?
Mob Psycho. I love One Punch Man, but I just love Mob Psycho a little bit more. I think they're both hilarious. I think they're both extremely clever series that are so good at betraying the same old anime tropes you're so used to seeing again and again. I think Mob Psycho brings that a little bit further in some areas, but most importantly, while they're both hilarious, I think Mob Psycho was more consistently on beat with my sense of humor. That show, no exaggeration, every single episode had at least one joke that actually made me laugh out loud. While One Punch Man, it was maybe like every 1 to 3 episodes. So, Mob Psycho, all the way.
How did you get into video games?
When I was a little kid, I was like probably 2 or 3 years old. My dad already had an NES, and that's why that was the first console I played. And my older sister liked playing it. She's a couple years older than me. And one day she just showed me Mario Bros. 3 because that was the game she liked to play at the time. And that was the first thing I ever played. And I just kept trying all these different NES games my dad had, and I just got into it from there. Then I got an N64 for Christmas, and the rest is history.
Your intro sounds pretty familiar with the intro of the show Serial Experiments Lane. Do you like that show? And if so, will you ever make reviews for that kind of TV shows and movies?
Yeah, I love Serial Experiments Lane. That's actually what I based the Nitro Rad voice synthesis off of. It has been used in a couple of other things. I bring this up in the Blinks video. The Blinks intro uses it. No More Heroes and Killer 7 both use it. It was in a lot of things that I've played and have watched, but I think Serial Experiments Lane, I don't think that was the first thing I watched or played that had it in it, but it was the one that made me want to use it because it does it as like a title card voice. But yeah, that is a fantastic show. I don't know if I do a review of it. I mean, like, I'd rather stick to video games. I mean, if I ever were to review an anime, the two I would probably do is Digimon Tamers and Serial Experiments Lane, especially because they're by the same director. I think? Yeah, I think they are. But yeah. But I don't think I would, though.
What's your favorite game from the Deleasa series?
Wait, what do you mean by Deleasa series? Do you just mean like just the core 3 ones actually made by Austin, or do you mean like fan games included? Fan games, I'd say Hopeless. That was super duper fun. I like the whole throwback to Wally's, but out of all of them, honestly, just the core Lisa, the Painful RPG. You know, it's got the most content. That was what got me into that series, and that had just the most fun world to explore. Joyful was like kind of that, but a little condensed a little bit more. And then the first one's just the Yumeniki clone, but yeah, at least the Painful RPG, I guess.
What's the one thing that scares you the most in horror games? Anticipation.
You need some sort of way to make me know there's a thing there, but not be able to see it. Silent Hill does this wonderfully with the radio and darkness. My flashlight is only going to show me so far. I know there's something there because I can hear the radio going off, but I can't hear it itself, so I don't know where in this room it is. Dreadout also did that really well, where the ghosts are invisible unless you're on your phone. And when you're looking through your phone, like the camera on your phone, I mean, when you're looking on the camera on your phone, you can't walk very fast. So it's kind of like, you bring it up, where is it? Oh, it's right there. Okay, put it down. Where is it now? Okay, the Fatal Frame games do that too, I think, but I haven't actually played the Fatal Frame games. I will soon, next year, I promise, but yeah.
What makes Yokai Watch special to you?
It was just so different, because like we lived in a day and age where they're making like the exact same Pokemon game practically every year, or every second year, I don't know. And Yokai Watch, it just came across and it had like really different style of enemy designs, it had a really different battle systems, and it just kind of grabbed me because of that.
What newcomers would you like to see in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate?
Rayman's the big one. I would love to see Rayman. I don't know how realistic that is. Banjo-Kazooie. I'm seeing a lot of people begging for Crash Bandicoot. Okay, I gotta be honest, guys. If Crash gets in Smash before Banjo, I'm a riot. I want Banjo in Smash so bad. He is such an iconic, integral part of Nintendo's history in the in that era of games, and like, man, you gotta have him in. Phil Spencer said he would let him have it too. I would also like to see the Elite Beat Agents. I always say that because like, if you can make a moveset out of yoga poses, you can do the exact same with dance moves. But more than anything, Mike Jones from Star Tropics. I know that's unrealistic, but that's my #1 pick.
I'd rather take a full force hammer swing to the nutsack, or 100% complete Superman 64, Bubsy 3D, Rascal, and Sneak King all in one sitting.
Why would you ask me this? I'd rather play video games I don't like than take physical harm. Are you kidding me? What kind of question is that? Like, playing a bad video game, it's stressful, but it's not like, I don't know, they would also take a long time. That's time I wouldn't be spending on videos. I don't know, man. I honestly would just play the games because I don't want to be hospitalized. But I mean, depending on how big the hammer is, just for the sake of saving time and being able to spend that time on working instead of doing that, I guess maybe the hammer. I don't know.
Will you ever review any games that were only released in Japan or Europe?
Yeah, like I already reviewed Siren 2, which only came out in Europe and Japan. I also really want to review the Hotel Dusk games. The second one only came out in Europe and Japan. What is it called? Last Window, Secret of Cape West. But I want to review LSD Dream Emulator. I have a copy of it. It was like 3 or 4 years ago, like, I spent my first retail paycheck on this game. It cost me 300 Canadian dollars. Yeah, and I still haven't reviewed it. I will someday, though, because there's a lot I have to say about this game. Like, the only big review of this game on YouTube, all the guys like, yeah, this game's pretty weird. You spent 20 minutes saying that. It's a game about dreams. Of course it's weird. There's so much real dream psychology in this game that I can digest. Like, there's references to old hag syndrome, which I've experienced, and man, yeah, that's a big one. Other than that, yeah, I can probably think of a couple others, but not right now. But yeah, that's a big one right now.
Hey, Nitro Rad, I know you don't really play fighting games like that, but if there was an anime that they could make like a Dragon Ball Fighters Z-esque fighting game with, what would you want that anime in-game to be?
I know you're a big One Punch Man fan. I was just wondering if you would actually like to see a game of that series made.
I put these two questions together because the second guy kind of answered the first guy's question. Yeah, One Punch Man would be my pick. There's so many characters in that game that would make a fantastic fighting game. Obviously, you would have to kind of suspend your disbelief a little bit. I mean, you have to do the same with Dragon Ball FighterZ, right? You get Goku fighting Yamcha. It doesn't kill him in one hit, right? So I know Saitama's thing is that he kills everything in one punch, but I mean, it's a fighting game, bend the rules, whatever. But yeah, I would love to see One Punch.
Since you know a lot about films and obscure games, which games do you think will make an actually great, well-remembered film?
I always thought Metal Gear Solid 3 would make a really good movie. Typically any games that have very cinematic, cutscene-based stories, like you play a bit and you get the movie. The Uncharted games would make a fantastic movie. I've always wanted a movie based on Hotel Dusk. Someday I hope to make it myself, whether I get the rights to it or not. Whether that's to be a fan film or official thing, I hope to do that.
Do you like comic books? And what's your opinion on comic book movies?
Literally the only comic books I ever read in my life were Archie comics. I've never really been into, like, superheroes that much. I know comic books isn't just superheroes, but when I think comic book movies, I think superhero movies. The only two superheroes I can really tolerate is, like, Batman and Spider-Man. You know, I play some of the Batman games, and I watched Spider-Man Homecoming, and it was really good. I'm probably gonna get that new Spider-Man game. Yeah, I don't have much interest in that. Like, there's a million Marvel movies a year, and I don't really pay attention to it.
What is your least favorite Mario game?
I'm assuming you mean main series. Let's go main series, because there's just way too many spin-offs to even be able to keep track of. Probably Super Mario 3D World. That's a great game, but it just feels kind of stale to me, and for reasons that I've explained in my review of it. Yeah, I feel like that is, by design, a multiplayer game first, instead of a core, fantastic Mario experience. And that's just not really what I'm looking for in a Mario game, even if that even still ended up being a pretty good game on its own.
You mentioned in the past Persona 5 and Persona 4 being very good games in your opinion, but what is your opinion on the first 3 Persona games and the spin-off on 3DS?
I've never played Persona 1 or 2, or the second 2, but I have played 3. I had the PSP version when I was in high school. I never finished it, but I got really far in it before I dropped it. The Hanged Man boss, that's where I was at when I stopped. I'm pretty sure that's, like, kind of towards the end, maybe, I think? I don't know. Yeah, I don't really like 3 as much as 4 and 5. I find it lacks that sense of mystery that 4 brought to the table. Like, in 4, it's like, well, there's this mysterious TV world. We don't know what it is. Even the guy from the TV world doesn't know what it is. But in Persona 3, it's like, yeah, that's Tartarus, the big tower. Well, we know exactly what it is. This is what it is. Let's go up it. I'm like, oh, that's kind of not as interesting to me. And then Persona 5 continued with that sense of mystery. It's like, Mementos, I think I know what this is. Like, Morgana's like, I think I know what this is. This should work. I'm not entirely sure, but it should. And it's like, okay, there's a mystery here we're unraveling that I really liked. Persona Q I thought was garbage. I thought the game was boring as hell. The writing in it was horrible. You can tell those characters were given to writers that didn't know anything about them, and they were all boiled down to a single characteristic. Persona Q is stupid. I hated it.
Which style of animation do you think is better? Traditional hand-drawn animation or CGI?
I don't think one is objectively better than the other. I like hand-drawn stuff better because it just, the amount of effort you put into it, seeing a 2D character so lifelike and so, like, animated is incredible. Like, Harry Partridge is, like, probably one of the only people I see still really doing that, and even then he doesn't do it frequently just because of how much time it takes. But then you get games like Cuphead, and it's like, wow, look at this. But there has been some fantastic 3D animation. I think, when 3D animation stays true to 2D keyframing, like the Peanuts movie is a fantastic example of that. yeah, some 3D animation can look fantastic. The Captain Underpants movie, like, visually that looks really good. They stick to the 2D keyframes of the original, the books. Same with that Popeye demo that never got made. Yeah. So, I prefer hand-drawn, but I don't think one is inherently better than the other.
When you were in college, how did you get, like, a good work ethic? Like, how did you pretty much not procrastinate?
I was just pumped about everything I was doing. Like, they were really lenient about what you got to do for your independent projects. It was like, make a documentary about anything. That was like one project. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna find something I thought was awesome. My friend's local band, they got to play a show even though they were a joke band. I did the whole documentary's on Grandicor if you want to check it out. It's called Crunchy Jug. It's about a band called Piss Jug. Yeah, and it was just project after project like that, and I never wanted to not do work because work is it was just something I was passionate about.
What color are your socks?
These ones are like gray, but sometimes I'll wear black ones. I don't know.
I've been looking on your Twitter recently, and I've noticed that you've been retweeting and liking various Gundam-related posts. What are your general opinions on the Gundam franchise as a whole?
I don't know anything about Gundam. I just thought those GIFs looked kind of cool. It's like a robot guy throwing another robot guy, and there's an explosion. I thought it was like, oh, that's cool. Click like on that. The only Gundam series I've ever watched was like, what was it, like Gundam Force, like that really bad 3D CG one for kids. I watched that when I was in like 4th grade.
Which video game do you like but everyone dislikes, and at the same time, which video game you dislike but everyone's like?
Castlevania Symphony of the Night! I don't like that game at all, but everyone does and hates me because I don't like it. That's another reason I don't like the phrase Metroidvania, because I like Metroid games. I don't like the open Castlevania games. I find them boring and dull. I know everyone hates me for this, but yeah, that's like the one huge game that people just love that it just never clicked with me. Now for the opposite, Star Fox Adventures. I don't think that game's that bad. Like, the thing is, I don't really like Star Fox. You just kind of go straight in a spaceship and shoot some guys, and it's on rails, and I just find it boring. So I guess there's another one. There's another one, but I like Star Fox Adventures never felt to me like as a betrayal of the series, because it was a betrayal of a series I didn't care about. To me, it was just a crappy Zelda game. And I like Zelda games, so hey, I'll play a crappy one. I'm sure, that's fine. It's fine, it's a fine game, it's not bad. It's not great, but it's, come on guys, lighten up on it.
What's your favorite mask in Majora's Mask?
The Deku mask visually is like my favorite mask, just the way it looks. Yeah, I made this with my father. I made it for a contest, kind of dusty right now. I made it for a contest. Nintendo of Canada, I think, was doing like some sort of make your own mask contest on Facebook. I didn't win it, but like I don't care. I got this dope mask made out of wood that my father and I made for it, and it's just been in the background of my video since. I don't know if you can really see that, but yeah, Majora's Mask is one of my favorite games, so I like having that there. But functionality-wise, love the bomb mask. Like, it's just so convenient. You got no bombs left. You got to blow up, open a rock or a wall or something. Just boom. And it's especially useful when you find out that, like, if you shield and then use it, it doesn't do damage. Even though that doesn't make sense because the explosion's coming from behind the shield. I also use the bunny hood a lot. Just going slightly faster is really nice too.
How'd you get into the Yakuza games, and what game did you start with?
The first time I wanted to play a Yakuza game was Yakuza 5 after I heard Rocco from Mega 64 talk about it on the Mega 64 podcast, and he just made it sound so good that I got it, and it was hell to get it on my PS3 because my PS3 only has like 60 gigs of hard drive space, and that game's like 40 gigs, and it was so I had to delete everything to make it fit. But yeah, that was the first one I played. That's not a good one to start with because that's the only one that like doesn't start with a recap. I was a little lost at first, but as by the end of it, I was following along just fine. I've also played 0. I didn't beat it, but I recently beat 6. 6 was the big one I was looking forward to, and 6 was amazing. Love the ending of that game.
Hat in Time, Seal the Deal DLC. Thoughts? Opinions? And do you plan on coming back to it?
Yeah, it looks good. I'm definitely going to play it, you know. I'm really excited that they're putting out a Switch. It's going to be the first time I buy a Hat in Time because the previous 2 times on PS4 and PC, they gave me review copies of it. So I'm just going to buy it this time. Like, I got to give you guys my money at some point, you know. Want to support you guys. Love your game so much. Yeah, I'm not, like, super pumped for it because it's content of a game I've already played through. But, yeah, I'm definitely going to play it. I'm definitely interested in seeing it. I really want to check out that co-op mode. Really interested in seeing how that's gonna pan out because I've always wanted a good co-op platformer game because the only one I ever used to play was like just the Lego games, like Lego Star Wars, Lego Indiana Jones. So this could be super duper fun. Definitely gonna play that with Brady. I'll probably live stream that. I think it would be a good stream. But do I plan on coming back to it, like, for a review? No, I don't like going back to games I've already covered. Like, a lot of people keep asking me if I'm gonna re-review Jimmy and the Pulsating Mass because it's out now. No, because, like, the bulk of what I have to say about that game would remain completely unchanged. The only thing that would be different is that the B-roll would show a little bit more of the game. That would be it. Yeah, so I'm not gonna come back to it, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna play it.
Hey James, I was just kind of wondering, out of all the games you've reviewed, which one surprised you the most?
Probably Pac-Man World 3. Like, people set me up to hate that game. Everyone was telling me it was horrible, but I mean, it just stems from the it's different, so it sucks attitude that you see games like Banjo Nuts and Bolts and Star Fox Adventures kind of suffer from. Yeah, it definitely was different, and there was a lot I didn't like about it, but I really liked the story. The writing in that game was so lovable and fun and hilarious. I love that Pac-Man had a voice. Like, I thought they did it was weird at first, but the voice actor did a really good job. If Pac-Man ever speaks again in one of the Pac-Man games, I want it to be that same voice actor. I want those writers back. That was really good. And the level design being more focused on exploration and puzzle solving, I thought that was really, really good. So yeah, definitely Pac-Man World 3.
When was the last time you hung out with people that you used to work with at retail?
I don't think I've ever actually hung out with people I used to work at retail with. I would always see them at work. And there was one guy I used to work with when I used to work at Shoppers that we were always like, yeah, we gotta hang out sometimes, but he's so busy with family and work and like it's just hard to make plans, and we never ended up hanging out together. So last time I hung out with people at retail, when I worked retail.
What got you into RPG Maker games?
Yume Nikki. That was the first one I played, and I played more and more fan games based on that, and then I found out, oh, this is a program that tons of games are made in, and then I started checking out other ones from there. This guy said his mic was busted, so I put subtitles, but yeah, I do have a European PS2. I've had one since I did the Siren 2 video. I think that was like, it'll be 2 years ago this coming Halloween, so yeah, I've got one.
From one Pokemon fan to another, if you had to name just one type of Pokemon from here on out, what type would it be?
I'm not really a Pokemon fan. I don't know where you got that, but I've only played like 2 Pokemon games other than like Pokemon Puzzle League. Never really cared that much about Pokemon. I like Lucario a lot, but I like him because of Smash Bros, not so much because of the series he's actually from, I know, but whatever Lucario is, what is he, like, he's a fighting type, I think? So that, I guess. That's what you do in Pokemon, fight, so get fighters, duh. Easy.
What's your favorite year in gaming? Mine is 1996.
2011! I know a lot of people will probably pick a much earlier year, but for me personally, that was the first year that had a lot of really good games that I actually played through when they were new, and it was also a time that, like, I was old enough to be able to be online on the internet and get all of the news and be aware of everything. So, like, while there were probably a couple of years in the early 2000s that were better years for video games, I would have been a kid and I didn't have access to the internet, or at least I didn't know how to use the internet, and I didn't know, like, everything that was coming out. I was also just a Nintendo fanboy when I was a kid, so I didn't expose myself to anything PlayStation. But yeah, 2011 had 3 of my favorite games ever: Sonic Generations, L.A. Noire, and Deus Ex Human Revolution. On top of that, there is finally a good Mortal Kombat reboot. Skyrim came out, that was huge. Uncharted 3 was huge. Portal 2, that was huge, yeah. Skyward Sword came out, you know, big Zelda game came out. It's probably my least favorite Zelda, but there's still one. But that's probably one of the biggest years for games.
If you could remaster a bad game, like, and make it good, like, what bad game would it be, other than, like, the one game you just played?
Bad game, Haven. I would love to see Haven remade and, you know, get rid of those turret sections, make those vehicle sections a little less clunky. Make that final big crazy side quest you fly to all the planets, make that streamlined. Make some sort of tracker system so I know where to fly, you're not just like aimlessly looking for it. Yeah, Haven would be a big one.
I'm gonna like your horror reviews a lot, but you only do them like once a year. You thinking maybe ever doing them more than once?
Nah, I like the focus of the channel to be primarily on platformer games and occasionally RPG Maker games, and I feel like I'm more so in the mood for horror games when it's the Halloween season. And I do agree, I do like to do more horror games than before, so that's why I expanded the Halloween marathon to 2 months instead of just 1 month. So I do September as well, so that's kind of my attempt at doing a little bit more. So yeah, I have made an effort to do a little bit more, but yeah, I'm gonna keep doing them just around Halloween.
In your opinion, what is the difference between a game mechanic and a gimmick? Because I feel like a lot of reviewers are wishy-washy on what makes the difference between the two?
Oh man, that is a really good question. I don't even know if I have an answer to that. I would say a mechanic is something that's always there, something that's broad, like something... A mechanic is more so like the way something works. Yeah, mechanic is the way something works. It's like a gear. It's something that turns the cogs, makes the game function. A mechanic is something you need to make the game function. So like a jump, or a wall jump, or something like that. Those are all game mechanics. I'd say a gimmick is something kind of more unique and specific and narrower. So like if a platform moves a certain way, that's a stage gimmick. Like a motion control, that's a specific thing. That's kind of a gimmick where like buttons is broader throughout the whole history of video games, I guess, maybe. So I'd say mechanics are broader and more common and are more integral to the game, while a gimmick is kind of like a new cool thing that the game could have worked without, but they did it and it could have been cool or not, I guess. So I guess gimmicks are kind of unique and narrow and specific, while mechanic is like something you need to make it function. I don't know. It's a really difficult question, but it's a really good one. Thank you for that. But that's going to be it for now. This is going to be the end of part 1. I know this has probably gone on quite a bit, but I still got a lot of questions left to cover. I'm going to film that tomorrow because it's getting real late tonight. So, expect part 2 coming out very soon. Yeah. Look forward to that. Thank you guys so much for submitting your questions. If you haven't seen yours yet, it's probably coming up soon. So, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you'll watch part 2. See you again very soon.